Welcome, friends. This is a preview for a brand new independent role-playing game. The game, Antagonist. I'm James, the writer and developer. So why is the game called Antagonist and not something more descriptive of the world itself? This is a name that sets the theme of a game where players play people who would, in a more traditional setting, be considered antagonists. Your characters live in a world where the evil empire is just beginning its third act defeat. But you, rather than sitting comfortably amongst the rallying forces of a ragtag set of good guys, will be playing characters settled in the grand evil empire, just about to get your comeuppance. Or will you? Maybe, just maybe, you can be the one to turn this whole story on its head. So you want a little more detail on the story, perhaps. Certainly, you've heard parts of it 1,000 times. The rise of a dark warlord who comes from beyond the great mountains with an unstoppable army, conquering city-state after city-state as he builds his great empire from their ashes. For 500 years, this empire expands to almost the entirety of the massive continent of Altaria. The remaining city-states combine into a conglomeration of kingdoms to fight back, but even so do little but delay the ever-advancing forces of the dark warlord. Then, some enterprising inventor amongst the forces of light stumbles upon the invention of fire powder. Weapons using this explosive force are developed rapidly, and bit by bit the great emperor's armies begin to be driven back. It's all turning around, and player characters may well have front row seats. But as with all stories, this one has things below the surface. Where did this fire powder really come from? What are the emperor's true motivations for his conquest? And is the empire as united a front as their enemies perceive? The game brings together a disparate set of characters who are plunged into the deep end of intense political, military, and economic conflict against enemies, rivals, and even secret forces too alien for most to imagine. Whether they're on the front lines of the main conflict or engaged carving out their own slices of the world, the struggles your players will face in this game will be like no other. But for any role-playing game, the story I write can only go so far. After all, the game must give you the tools to make these stories engaging to you, its players. And for this, Antagonist offers some truly unusual storytelling tools. Where the flash of a blade and bellowed incantation of a mighty spell are staples of the fantasy genre, and very much included in this game as well, the game also offers the opportunity to play characters that step back from the immediate action to play out long-term political and even militaristic plots to savage their enemies through social and economic warfare, codified into the rules of the game. The game splits its time between the action-packed activities of a scene and the long-term planning of a politician or tactician, allowing players to play characters with archetypes and roles that might be difficult to portray in most other RPGs. A group of players may have an equal number of warrior, criminal, and sorcerer types to courtiers and merchant princes, each with their own role to play built into the game's structure. So, have you been looking to scratch the itch to play a more nuanced, less heroic character? One who operates in a realm where ruthlessly pursuing one's own interests is practically expected. Or maybe you want to branch out from goblin-slaying grinds and plunge into the realm of intrigue and cutthroat mercantilism. This may well be the game for you. Check us out on DriveThruRPG and stay tuned to this channel where I'll be going into more details on the unique aspects and rules of the game Antagonist.